got my living situation a little bit more stable, so me and my kitty cats are just hanging out in our hotel room. I went to church the other day with my family, and that was nice. What I want to talk about though is how church is everywhere. You can start walking a path where every step that you take is a prayer, and so you're always talking to God. You're always at church, and it doesn't have to be in this building, in a gathering, and you can just move and flow with divine next to you and inside of you all the time. I do like the community of church and seeing everybody praising and feeling the energies of God. But so far as for me, I didn't feel God inside the church or during the worship more than I usually do. You know, it moved me in ways, but I'm always being moved by God because I've let myself be scooped up by God's hands to be divinely flowed down my divine path and to live in my purpose. They were talking about how Jesus was special, and yes, of course Jesus was special. Jesus was an ascended master, and he had very, very deep connections with the God source and let himself be moved by God in deeper ways than I think most of us ever will. But at the same time, I know that many of us are starting to follow that path and learning how to flow with it and becoming masters. We're becoming masters of our emotions. We're becoming masters of reality. See, because God isn't just this big man in the sky just watching everything that we do. God is inside of us. God is us, and if you look at it like God is just this all-knowing, powerful man in the sky that wants to somehow dictate what you're doing, saying, eating, whatever, then you're not allowing yourself to connect to God as much as you can. All of us can connect with God the way Jesus did. All of us, because God is inside every single one of our hearts. That is why God knows everything that we do. God knows how we love. God knows how we move. God knows what we think. And it's because God lives literally in here, inside of our heart. And we can all have access to it. We can all have access to God's energy. Now, I'm not downplaying how special church can be. Sacred places have always been a way to allow yourself to connect with the source, with God. And it is a really beautiful thing to watch so many people worshiping together. And it is very powerful. But I think that everybody should know that you can have that kind of divine power and energy and love washed over you no matter where you go. We really do all hold the key to ascended mastery, and God would love for us to all use that key to connect. Each and every single one of us can go out into the world and love with God's heart and walk with God's feet and make with God's hands and see with God's eyes and speak with God's voice if we only allow ourselves to do that. There doesn't have to be one specific place to be touched by this and to be moved by this. It can move you through your life, and sometimes it is hard. It's a little bit hard to stay connected to that when there is struggle, and even when you have surrendered and you have put your trust in that, and things don't always go or feel the way that you would expect them to. And then you say, why? And you ask God all these questions. Why? How? What? When? Where? And what's actually really important is to just be grateful. Grateful already that God has a plan for you, and grateful that you have what you have, and grateful that you are able to speak to God the way that we are. It's a really beautiful feeling knowing that you're never alone, even if you've been isolated, even if you get secluded from things, even if you've fucked up and you've kind of been separated out. Like, you can know that you are never alone and that there is a plan for you. And our human minds just have expectations that aren't necessarily always what's going to happen. It really is true that sometimes you don't get what you want because it isn't in God's plan and it isn't the best for you. If you can walk through life in prayer and know that you are being moved by the divine forces and that you are being guided, you can do amazing things, and you can feel good even in bad times. We really are all that special.